Going to bring you out here in the shop and kind of show you the list of little projects that are backing up. Let's start over here. Here's a closing 20 that I bought in Louisiana and brought back. Needs a rebuild. It kind of squeaks when it runs. So I've got all the new belts. All the pulleys are okay, but I've got the all new bearings for everything, even down into the spindle here. This is all the bearings that go into it. Closing was very easy to get the parts I needed. In fact, this is a shaft that goes right there, and frankly guys, I couldn't buy the material and make that shaft for the $92 it cost. I got so many projects right now, I just want to get it done. So I've got it sitting there ready to go. It still works, so I haven't just gotten into it. I've got some others I want to get out of the way. For the guy that likes the Bridgeports, here we are again. I've got a lot of it going on. This is the knuckle in the top for the Bridgeport. And if you remember in this video, Don painted it. And it, I don't know if you can tell, maybe down here a little bit, but it had a textured finish when we were through. Well, I'm going to try some different paint that's in this video because I really liked how it worked, and the ability to rattle can this thing is going to be wonderful. So I'm going to try it out on this one. So I thought I would sand that rough texture off, and frankly these little foam sanding discs, this paint is dry enough to where it's sanding really nice. So I'm going to finish smoothing all this off, and then we'll give it some coats of that new paint I've got. Take a look at this video from one of my friends. He turned me on to it, and his results have been very, very nice. It's got one of the better spray heads for a rattle can, and it just doesn't it acts like a regular spray gun. So this is all getting a new coat on it. What else have we got ready? Well, here's what a few people have been asking about. This is the Cyclone 212 that I bought to replace my Miller 140 in my trailer. Now, I got a nice Miller over there, spent a lot of money on. And for TIG, I've got an HTP right there. Anybody need a Camelback drill? I got one sitting back there getting ready to sell. It's kind of a neat one. It's all gear driven, except for the main belt. Now last week I showed you some pictures of the Specs tool, and some people asked me, said they couldn't find it. I bought this one off Amazon, but I went and looked and they're out of stock on these. So I tracked down the company, and here's a link somewhere to the place you can buy these direct. They're about $35. 105 degree angle, well built. I recommend it. Now, another part of the Bridgeport saga is I've got to scrape this table right here. That's the easy part. I usually put them on these hydraulic lift tables to move them around, and I can get it at the right scrape height. Well, to measure all of this, I need to finish my 4-foot angled straight edge. So it's planed and sitting over there ready to go. So it's kind of like the chicken and an egg, which goes first? Well, obviously, if they're both planed, and I need to have that tool to finish that, so that's what I'm doing. Now, when you get to these bigger things, I mean, a 2-foot straight edge is nothing in weight. And so they're easy to move around. But boy, when you get to the 4-foot things, it's a lot tougher. So what I'm doing is I'm making a stand here that will hold the 4-foot edge. I'll show you when we're through here, and be on this table so I can move it up and down to the correct height for me to easily scrape it without holding it like this, or, you know. So I got some old scrap wood that was laying around. Most of this is old stuff we were throwing away from theater sets. You never know when little blocks of 2x6 come in handy. They don't come in handy on sets, but around here they're like gold. So what I'm basically doing is making a stand for that. So let me get to it. You find a lot of things have to be made to facilitate holding parts, like well, dadgummit. Those aren't very long. Oh, I got, well, might not got them at all. But these are a lot longer than this. Well, this will work because I'm going to screw them in from the bottom too. Hold your ears. Hold your ears again. Yellow pine is a good wood for structure, but when it gets old, all the cells close up, it gets hard as a rock. Now, this doesn't have to be perfect, you know. I'm just basically going to hold that piece of cast iron up. Get a new battery. Don turned me on to a good deal. Home Depot has a sale going on, and basically it's 2 of the XL or XR or whatever it is, XRs, 20 volt, 5 amp hour batteries for $140, $149. So I bought 2 packages of them. I missed out on it last year. Can't have too many batteries. I'll screw these together and then screw them to these 1x6s so that they'll have a base to sit on. See how easy that one went in? That's a newer piece of 2x6. Hadn't been hanging around too long. Go. Now we're going to take and put these like this. these boards and put 1 inch of space in between here. You don't have to be perfect, you know, you're just trying to make it work. Don't go all the way through, so they'll be good. I need a square. Other side real quick. That's about that far in. So put this here, about right there. No, hell. Now I need something 1 inch to put between them. 1, 2, 3 blocks, the handiest things I've got. Now, don't get wigged out. These aren't precision ones. They're ones you buy for, used to buy for 20 for $12. The good ones I keep in the toolbox. Now I'm just going to put a few more screws in from bottom. White light's bright in my face. Got cold here. Don's probably going to die. That man can't take the cold. A couple here. There's not going to be a lot of force on it. The only force actually is going to be on it putting the straight edge in and out. And I can always take this thing apart when it's time. It's a long one. Let's put a short one in. That was a long one too. There we go. A handy dandy little tray. straight edge holder. Something. Let's see if it fits. First off, I'm going to lower this down. This thing gets heavy. Like I said, a 4-footer's not a lightweight. I forgot if this was like 54 pounds or 74 pounds or something. And frankly, I don't want to have to lift it up and down a lot. That's why I like my table. I bought this one at Northern Tool, and their advertising's a little bit off. It said something about you could pump this up to full height in 10 or 20 pumps. I find it takes a lot more than they say. But you get your exercise. Can y'all see? I guess you could. Now this allows me to scrape at a nice height. Using the old biax, I can get it down where I want it and it's stable, you know. So this is now ready to start scraping, and luckily I only have 2 more rehearsals this week and we'll get on this. And then we'll go over here to the Bridgeport table and scrape it. Oh, by the way, this is that paint I was talking to you about. It's a high performance, rust preventative, Rust-Oleum makes it, dark machine gray enamel. Fast dry, it's got the good spray head on it. And I could read this. I would tell you what it is. This is V2187838 dark machine gray. Good stuff, according to my friend. That eliminates the need to have a spray gun going. And that makes it easy to do small parts. You know, there's a lot of little different pieces in a machine that when you take it apart, unless you do one of those Rust-Oleum restores, you got to take the machine apart and do a few little pieces. This should make it a lot easier. And also, the reason I like this table is because as I'm scraping this, I also have to check it on my 3-foot by 4-foot grade A precision granite surface table. Well, it's over there and I'm over here scraping. This will allow me to pick it up and slide it over there right onto the table without having to kill myself. Well, now I'm going to tell you the story about the Everlast and the prime weld. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet, but you know me. I purchased this prime weld Cyclone 212. Paid $1,050 for it. I have a Miller 140 on my trailer, my work trailer, and it goes to where I do gate jobs. And its whole purpose in life for the last 5 years has been flux core wire. I don't want to carry a cylinder on there. It was, I think, of 140. And it worked pretty well for what I did. It was a 110, but then I started having problems with the bobcat that powered the 140 throwing a breaker after I'd welded a little bit. So I tried isolating it by building another small breaker panel that would fit into the 220 outlet on the bobcat, and turns out it was the welder mainly popping it. I think it's the liner doing that. I've had that happen a long time ago. Had a huge discussion with Miller head engineer, and he goes through this gobbledygook, how it can't be this and all this, not designed for this. Finally, I found a decent Miller shop all the way on the other side of Houston. He took it in. I went back to get it 2 days later, and he said all it was the liner needed changing. So I'm hoping that's what it takes to get that 140 back on the road. But I don't have time to change breakers and mess with that when I'm out in the field. So I wanted a machine that was 220 and could do the work. Just weld light metal together on gates. I got to looking. The new Miller was going to cost me $2,500. I didn't want to pay $2,500. I didn't need it that bad. I didn't use it that often. So I got to looking around, and Don recommended Everlast. Says he's had one about 7 years now and has never had a problem with it. It works well. I said, okay. So I got to looking at it and browsing their websites. I looked at a few other things too. But Don's recommendation went a long way with me, so I said, okay, I'll buy one. So I purchased that Cyclone 212. It's a 220 unit also. It's got a lot more features than I needed on that trailer. But the cost was $1,050 compared to $2,500, and I thought, it's worth a shot. So I bought it. It got here, and I've been busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest, so I let it sit on the floor for a week, and then Don started, did you open it yet? Did you open it yet? Don does not have any patience. So I let it sit for a couple more weeks just to turn the screw on him. When I did open it up, got everything out, plugged it in, and started to strike an arc, and nothing happened. Unit powered up, nothing happened. So I went online and sent Everlast an email through their website, and I got back an email that said, please check the voltages at these locations, and had a picture, a pictorial about where to check it and what to do. I was kind of shocked. I said, they don't know who I am. They don't know if I know one end of a meter from the other. So, okay, they've now given me permission to open up the machine. So Don and I did. Now, Don's an electrical engineer, and between us, we pretty well had it covered. We checked everything out and still no spark. So I went and called Everlast, got a man on the phone. He said, well, if you don't have spark, it's more than what that diagram that we sent you. You got bigger problems. So we're going to replace the unit. And we'll send you a shipping label, and you send the unit back to us, and as soon as you get a tracking number, send that to you, and then we'll send you the new unit. Okay. I said, well, I don't have a box. My wife's a neat freak, and she about dies every time she comes in here, but she was rummaging around finding things for her burn pile and found that box, and away it went. He said, well, I said, can you send me the new one so I can use that box to send it back? He said, well, we usually wait till you give us the tracking number, but I'll ask the boss. Well, that was the last I heard. I sat there waiting for the mailed shipping label. 8 days later, I made a video about that machine and this prime weld machine that had shown up 4 days after the first video went out. Prime weld said, we're sorry you're having problems here. Please have this unit. And I said, wow, That's pretty nice. This unit doesn't exactly match that unit. That unit and this unit are two different classes, basically. This is much more featured, heavier duty and everything. That'll come into play in a minute. So, after I made that video, Don calls me. My phone's been ringing off the hook. I don't know people, and you know, you get so many spam phone calls nowadays. I hardly ever answer the phone to somebody that I don't know. Don calls me. I pick up the phone and he says, the president of Everlast wants to talk to you. And I said, how does he know me? And he said, he saw the video. And I said, how did he know about the video? And Don says, well, I sent him a link. I was just kind of waiting to see how it was going to play out. But Don has no patience, so he just sent the guy the link, and the guy's now all worried and hot and bothered about it and trying to get me on the phone, and I didn't want to even answer the phone. It was 9 o'clock and tired. Don says, please talk to him. He's really extremely worried, and he says they did send you an email. And I said, well, I never got one. So I went and started looking around, and sure enough, in my Gmail folder, spam folder, which I have no spam rules. It's just plain Gmail account. In the spam folder, there's only been 6 spam emails put in there in the last 6 months. But their email was in there, and it was dated 2 hours after I talked to the man on the phone. The email had a shipping label for me to ship back that unit. Well, I didn't know about it. All their other emails didn't go into the spam folder. The president and I talked for 3 hours that night, and that was one of the issues. I said, you need to figure out what's triggering a spam alert on that email and fix it, which he is doing. The man was truly, truly worried. He said, you know, this is my company that I started from scratch out of my garage 22 years ago. We try to give the best service we can, and things like this really hurt us. And I said, well, this wasn't your fault because you did respond to me. It went into spam. That's just what happens. I took that video down, and it was a video basically comparing these two, and I made a lot of remarks about how it had been 8 days and no word. And I thought that was totally unfair to the Everlast people because they did reply. Technically, I never got it, but they did reply. So we talked some more. I explained, I said, you know, I was really shocked when I got this pictorial about how to diagnose this machine just out of the blue when I sent in a request for help. And he said, that wasn't supposed to happen. We do offer that as a service for people that feel comfortable doing it, key word there. And I should have been asked by the technician if I felt comfortable doing it before they even sent it. That's changing too. They will make sure that people are asked. He said we do it because it may be something simple that we can fix over the phone. And if you feel comfortable taking those measurements, we could send you the boards and get you up and running faster. And I thought that's an acceptable thing to do. Not for everybody, but in my case it was. A few more hours of discussion go by, and he says, you know, that video you've got up is really going to hurt me. And I said, well, I reviewed the situation and I took the video down before I even called you, because technically when I found that email, you did try to do something, and I appreciate that. And I'm not out to hurt anybody unless they're a bad company. Then have at it. So we talked some more, and he says, I want to replace your unit, but the prime weld that you have is in a different class. And if you're going to do reviews on both machines, I would rather you review an equal class of machine. I said, okay, but all I need is flux core, you know, and we went back and forth with his men trying to help me figure out what the best deal was and all this. And they sent me a couple different guns with a couple different liners and to cover the gamut of what needs to happen. Guess what? It showed up. And we will unbox that the next video. But it will hopefully be the same class. And I told him it better work. And he says, rest assured. Now, I wanted to address one other issue before I go. In the comments, I've seen many people say, well, call them Everlast instead of Everlast. And I don't understand that. So if you would, please tell me why you do that in the comments. According to the owner of Everlast, this machine has a 5-year guarantee or warranty. Now, I don't know exactly the details, so I'm not going into that. I know that the Prime Weld has a 2-year warranty, and they almost immediately ship you a machine if you have a problem. I'm not sure about the Everlast, but a 5-year warranty is pretty good. Did you just not take advantage of it, or was it broken, or you didn't like? Just let me know. I want everybody to be informed. So where do we go from here? Well, I'm truly grateful for the Prime Weld people taking it upon themselves. They didn't even call me or anything. It showed up on my driveway 4 days after that last video hit. And I do have one of their machines that's a plasma torch that has been working fine, except for when it first got here, and it turned out to be the consumables weren't very good. And a new set of consumables from a well-known plasma guy, who got it running fine. So, thank you, Prime Weld. I usually buy the things that I play with around here because I don't want to be beholden to anybody, and I don't want to pull any punches. Like I say, the Everlast I paid for. This one I didn't. But in both cases, I'm going to treat you the same. And in that manner, I'm going to do 2 different videos on the machines, showing how they work. They may be just exactly the same. I don't know. There may be a few features that the Everlast has that this doesn't, or vice versa. All I know is, so far, Don looked at the equipment in this box and said it was very well built. We haven't opened this one because I haven't got permission to open it. Now, I understand that there's differences in welders and the technology. You know, the new inverter technology is taking over and probably going to replace everything else the way it's going. I've got a nice miller over there. It cost a lot of money. And I bought it because of the name. And frankly, I've been a blue guy for 30 years now. It is a very powerful machine that does everything from spray weld to little bitty tiny tack welds. But I needed something smaller for my trailer. So people tell me, well, these type of machines here, they're not as good as millers. Well, I don't know that. I was at the metal supply shop today and I saw some Miller inverters sitting there. And frankly, I've had 2 millers that went down. Damn near had a knockdown drag out with the head engineer of Miller telling me things that he thought, and it didn't work. And so I've been let down by millers. So I figured, why not give these a shot too? Well, that's where we are with this. I've talked long enough on the subject. Pretty soon, can't make a promise. I got other things going on.